Okay, so I'm just working on the upper leg pistons, and whilst I'm sort of in that sort of mood, I've decided to actually do the hip piston as well. The main difference with this one as opposed to the leg pistons or the pistons that I've been doing up till this point is that the regular ones are basically, and again keep in mind these are just a prop, they're not a real piston. They're essentially a hole that is accommodated long enough to accommodate a slide rod, okay, that goes in there like that. And that slide rod is significantly longer than it needs to be in terms of the actual movement in the joint, which means that so for argument's sake, the movement might be about that much for the actual movement of the joint, okay, but the rod, as you can see, is sort of that plus that much longer again. And the idea behind that is that when the parts are assembled, these are put in first, and it allows for plenty of free movement within the piston to give that illusion of the piston doing the work without any fear of it actually falling out the end. So that's essentially it. The hips, and realistically, if we were going to go, and I one day down the track I might actually modify these a little bit. You can see here this step down point. That there should be a dual piston. The reality in the actual Terminator character, if you like, is that some of the movement in the joints aren't 100% realistic in terms of compared to a human movement. So, and that's generally limited by the actual pistons themselves. So the reality of that is that this step piece here should be a secondary piston, okay, which moves in conjunction with that as well. Now, I don't need it for the sake of what I'm doing because effectively it's just a model, but I will need it in one particular location, and that's in the actual hip pieces. So what I'm actually building here is a two-stage piston, which is kind of what we're talking about effectively should be here. So what we've got is a much larger hole, which accommodates that piston piece there. Okay, and at the moment that's too long, but you know, I'm working out the length of it first, so it's always easier to cut it down shorter than end up being too short. And then what I've done is actually make up a sleeve piece, which actually fits inside that piece in there. All right, and that accommodates the actual control rod, which does that. So I'm going to build that up, and once it's assembled you can sort of I'll demonstrate the difference between that sort of setup in that. So that's the piston mechanism worked out for the hip to torso piece. It's been set up in such a way that they operate independently of each other, so that one can move that way and then this one can move as well, and they can move together. The idea being that they can pivot from the top as well as the bottom, and it's set up so that they can't come out. So that's basically the idea. That's it.